Daniel and Taylor, and we are Group 7. Today we're going to be talking about Chapter 2 from the text. In Chapter 1, we started looking at the AIM method, where we analyzed who our audience is. This time we're going to be looking at what our intent is as presenters. So what we're going to cover is what do we want and what do we need as the presenters, what objectives do we want to accomplish, and how can we use those objectives to monitor how we perform during our presentation. So I'll go ahead and pass it over to Daniel, who's going to start us off.
So before you start working on your presentation objectives, you need to figure out how you're going to communicate with the audience. So the first step in doing this is figuring out what type of speaker you're going to be. There's two types of speakers. There's experts and there's facilitators. Experts are going to deliver information to the audience, and facilitators are going to generate discussions through encouraging comments and ideas. The biggest difference between these two speakers is the level of control that each one of them has. An expert has a higher level of control as opposed to a facilitator who has a lower level of control. Now, as you can see from the graph, there's 4 strategies you can use, and there's tell, sell, consult, and join. And when you have a higher level of control, you're going to have less audience involvement, as you can see from the tell. And as you work your way up, you lose control, but you gain audience involvement. So we're going to dig a little deeper into presenting in tell and sell situations. So in a tell situation, you're mainly going to be telling the audience, or you're going to be informing the audience, and you want people to take in and retain what you're teaching them. The information that you want to put together to form an effective presentation is going to consist of what, how, and who. Now I'm going to use Donald Trump as my example for y'all because I think he's interesting. But say he's making a presentation for the American public. For his what, he would say, okay, I want to explain that Jeb Bush is a low energy guy. For his how, he would say, I want to review steps in border safety. And for his who, he would say, I want to analyze immigrants coming into the United States. So lastly, do you need involvement? When you're creating a tell presentation, you'll notice that you'll eventually at some points need to add more involvement. And as you add more involvement, you'll start moving up the scale you saw on the last slide, and you'll move into the sell territory. So when you're selling, the main goal is to persuade people through changing their ideas or behaviors on your topic. The biggest difference between tell and sell is how you put together your information for your presentation. In sell, you're going to put together why and how you're going to influence change in people. So Donald Trump, again, I'm going to use it as an example. For his why, he would say, I want to convince Mexico to pay for their own wall, which in my opinion is probably definitely not going to happen. Lastly, just remember that change requires involvement, and the more emotionally connected you are with your audience, the more likely they are to side with you on your topic. I'm going to pass it back to Barry.
So we've looked at 2 purposes of presentation so far, both tell and sell, which have a lot of control over the content of the presentation. Now we're going to kind of contrast that by looking at 2 purposes where you don't have a lot of control over the content. The first one we're going to talk about is a consulting situation, where you still have a little bit of control over what you're presenting over, but a majority of your focus is on the audience and answering their questions. So let me give you an example of what that would be like. Say I'm a consultant and I'm going into a business who's looking to buy my product or service. They're going to have questions about my service, and so they're going to ask me questions about it. My job there is to answer those questions as thoroughly as I can, and perhaps I can answer them in a way that it kind of sparks new questions, kind of driving the discussion. That's what we mean by having a little bit of control over the content. We have a little bit of say where we can move this presentation. But at the end of the day, our focus is entirely on the audience, making sure that all of their questions are answered. The next situation is a joint situation where all of the focus is on the audience. I have no control over the presentation, and it's more of a brainstorming event than a presentation. It's more of a group discussion where I'm adding to the conversation. I'm not being the conversation. So in this case, I would be, say I join a new team working in IT, and for some reason they don't have a disaster recovery plan. And I say, you realize you could lose millions of dollars without any disaster recovery. Say something goes through and it wipes out everything that you've worked for. What would you do? By doing that, I've brought up an issue, and then we can address it as a group. It's not just me standing in front of them in a tell scenario where I have full control over what's on the screen. I'm kind of bringing up a topic for us to discuss as a group. It's more like like I said, a brainstorming event. And so now I'll pass it over to Megan.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to y'all about how to actually write your presentation objective. So you want this to be results-oriented and audience-focused. So first off, you're going to seek results. What do you want to achieve out of this presentation? And so you're going to literally write down the statement, as a result of my presentation, the audience will be inspired by this compelling presentation I'm about to give. And then the focus on the audience would be, what do you want the audience to be influenced on? What do you want them to do after hearing what you have to say? So, for example, you'll write down, the audience will be inspired by this crazy video I just showed of a man lifting a car up over a woman or something like that. So, and then as you keep writing your presentation objective, you can change it as you need to, as you get more specific. If you start talking about UT Dallas, for example, so the result of this software update at UT Dallas will help UT Dallas students have more access to applications on Galaxy or something like that. And then we'll go on to some 3 keys of a presentation objective. So the first one is to specify your presentation objective. So in doing that, you're going to pick out targets, you're going to make a list of it, and with those, you're going to say, what do you want the audience to think, feel, and do after this presentation? So I've made a chart with the types of targets. So the focus for the think target would be the knowledge and opinions of those people. So maybe after giving this presentation, the person views research as more important than they did early on. And then for the field, maybe let's say the company's talking about relocating, and so at first maybe they didn't want to do that, but after saying, for example, we're going to give everyone a pay raise, they'll be more positive about that. And for the do, that's about mental activities and physical activities. An example with that would be, say, people sign up for a volunteer event after you've given a presentation about we need to do more community service in our organization. And the next presentation objective keys are they measurable and attainable? Are these targets measurable? So the easiest one to measure is activity-based targets, obviously, because if people are coming up after a presentation and saying, oh, I'd like to volunteer for this event, and so that's obviously very easy to measure and you're successful. But feelings are a little bit more hard to measure because how do you know if someone's being genuine in the audience or they're just saying, yeah, we're really excited about this. You don't really know. And then you're going to look at the what and how. How are you going to achieve these results? What are you going to do to make that happen? So, for example, to encourage, for example, that company, their employees to be excited about moving to, say, North Dakota or something. You'll be like, oh, well, we're going to give everybody $50,000 extra to settle. So that might change your opinion on that. And then, are these targets attainable? So you're going to look at your list of targets, and you're going to rate them in importance. Are they a priority? Are they not? And you're going to just start scratching them off and narrowing your list down. And then you're going to look at the rate of difficulty. Are these even worth seeking to find results from? Is the company ready to accept these and change their views on things? So that'll help you narrow your list down. And then I'm going to pass it on to Taylor, and she's going to talk about user objectives.
So I'll be teaching you about how to use your presentation objective to stay focused. So you need to draft your objective early in the process. Your objective is what's going to kind of guide you through the presentation and through the research. So a lot of times people spend so much time on research, and that research doesn't even end up in the final draft. So what we want to do is we want to save you time. It's actually a little ironic. We split the presentation up into 3 sections. So I got into bed last night, and I was trying to finish the presentation up, my slides up, and I finished it all, and I realized it was Megan's part. So if I would have done my objective, then I could have gone to bed earlier and done the right part. So using a mind map, there's an example at the bottom of the slide. I'm sure most of us have seen these in writing courses. So what you do is you write your objective in the middle and you circle it. So that's like your general purpose. So outside of your general purpose, you're going to draw branches off. These are representing your main point. So you're going to label these with an image or a word or a phrase. And then off of these main branches, you will then make another set of branches that support your main point. Now, a mind map is a good way just to generate So what you do is you're drafting an email and you pretend you're sending it to a friend who can't make it to your presentation. So they just kind of want to know a gist of what's going to be in your presentation. Now this is a good way to get a summary of what your presentation should be, the meat of it, and then you can take this email and flush it out to be your full presentation. So make modifications. Now, I mean, we've all looked at a thesis statement in writing. We know that our presentations are going to go through lots of changes as we draft it and time goes on. A lot of things happen. Your presentation's going to change. There's a multitude of things that could change. So your objective is going to change. So you just have to be flexible because possibly it could change several times. Now, an example of this would be if you have a meeting and an outside company decides to join in, you may have to take personal information and confidential information off the slides. Your audience may change or your time may change. A current event may happen and you have to roll with it and keep your objective changing. Now to stay focused while drafting your presentation, you're going to be looking at your opening and closing, your highlighted points, and your visual aids. Now your opening is your attention getter, and your closing is what you're going to use to leave a lasting impression. So you want to make sure that the information in your opening and closing connects with your objective. Now you're highlighting certain points, it kind of is the same thing. Your highlights are what you want to emphasize in everything. So what you want to emphasize, you want it to go and connect with the objective as well. Because that's the whole point. You want to get your objective across. You want to get your intention across. Now your visual aid, the whole point of a visual aid is to emphasize certain points. It's to emphasize your highlights. So again, it needs to be connected to your objective. So you're also going to use it during your rehearsal as well as your presentation. You may think that you're leaving time, but when you rehearse yourself and time yourself, you could possibly be, say you're 2 minutes over. What you need to do is you need to use your objective to decide what is important. If it ties directly to your objective, you need to make sure that you spend a thorough amount of time on it. If it doesn't, then you can kind of go a little bit quicker over it. So that will help you cut down time. So lastly, to evaluate your success, you created your objective for a reason. Your objective is your intention. Our intention was to teach you how to write your objective and how to use it to stay focused. So if you meet your objective, then you had a successful presentation. Like Megan said, you can't always, take the audience's feedback on if you were successful or not. You don't know if they're being genuine. So if you feel like you met your objective, then it was a successful presentation. Now Baron will take you to our quiz.
Alright. So question number 1. Do we want to do this right now?
Yes, please read the questions and somebody else can pass the quiz out too.
The opposite of focusing on the control of content during your presentation is focusing on. When presenting in a tell situation, what 3 types of information should you focus on? Provide a brief example of each type. If you're seeking information from the audience rather than delivering the information to them, you are in a blank or a blank situation. A presentation objective should be blank, blank, and blank. What are the 3 types of targets used when determining what we want from the audience? What are the 2 focuses of each of those